So again, a case of maybe the platform doesn't really know exactly what's happening. When we look at the ROAS from that time period around Memorial Day, they were at, where did I go? I lost it. 21 ROAS, like numbers that you just don't see ever. Ridiculous numbers. All right, this brand is, again, pretty similar to the other two that we talked about. It's a men's luxury clothing brand, essentially. So again, really high ticket products, but a little bit different, catered towards men in this instance. And I'm actually going to compare this time frame, the most recent 21 days, with the 21 days that surrounded Memorial Day. I couldn't find a really good comparison otherwise. So we're basically comparing Labor Day with Memorial Day. And why I want to show this is because we've changed our strategy pretty dramatically in that time frame. And I'm just going to, so we are comparing here. So I'm going to highlight a few of the changes that have taken place on the account in that time frame. So we've reduced our spend by 34%. So we spent around Memorial Day just about $5K, and we're at closer to 3 now. Conversion value decreased by 66%. This is all on platforms metrics, what Facebook is delivering to us. So purchase conversion value dropped by 66%, and ROAS dropped by 50%, while spend only dropped by about 34. So if somebody were to take over this account right now and take a look at what happened over the course of the last 6 months or so, another one I'll show you just quickly here is cost per purchase increased by 46%. Again, if somebody were to look at this account at face value and just dive in deep and do an audit, they would be able to completely tear down everything that I've done in the last, let's call it 2 months here, since Memorial Day. And that it all looks terrible on platform. But when we jump into Shopify, looking at comparing the same time period, sales are up 12%, conversion rates up 29%, store sessions are down, total orders are up. So again, a case of maybe the platform doesn't really know exactly what's happening. When we look at the ROAS from that time period around Memorial Day, they were at, where did I go? I lost it. 21 ROAS, like numbers that you just don't see ever. Ridiculous numbers. And it tells us that just something didn't feel right about that. So actually what we did was, after Memorial Day, we paused the ads for a month and we let their business sit without marketing to find a baseline of what they could produce by just email and socials, or organic socials. And then we jumped back into it with our new structure. And essentially all that we changed was we started going stone cold again. We reduced our budget. We started focusing on top of funnel traffic. And that has made a much more substantial impact on the business. The other factor that I haven't even mentioned is that we stopped spending altogether on Google. If I can find the Google account. So the only thing we have running on Google currently is a branded search campaign, where we spent about $300 in the last 21 days, where we spent 1.5K in the time around Memorial Day. So not only did we reduce our budget on Meta, we basically cut out Google altogether and just focused on pushing new customers through paid social. And you can see the direct repercussions of it here. Now, this is, again, not one for one, not apples to apples, because it is 2 completely different time periods. But I would have suspected for this brand that Memorial Day would actually do better. It's a heavily swimwear focused brand. So people purchasing swimwear for the upcoming summer months, and we're rounding out the summer now. The offer is identical to what it was for Memorial Day. And yeah, just changing the structure of who we're pushing our focus on is making a massive difference across all of these different accounts. And again, if you were to look strictly at on-platform metrics, you would say that this is the absolute wrong direction to take this business. You've seen a 50% decrease in your ROAS, a 60% decrease in your overall conversion value. What are you doing? But at the end of the day, the numbers that matter most are what are we driving in terms of revenue? And again, I'll look at the same customer breakdown that we've looked at with all the other accounts, is that between the dates that we referenced here, so August 21 to 10, 475 new customers. And going back to Memorial Day, 440 new customers. So we're generating new purchasers who, and this is a business that has a pretty healthy customer return rate, actually above healthy, 75%. It's actually a little bit ridiculous. So every one customer that we bring in, when we look at the cohort analysis, is going to purchase 1 to 2 times more on average. So we can safely say that we're allowed to spend a little bit more money on that first purchase because we know that there's a recurring AOV here that we can always rely on. And the lifetime value of a particular customer is pretty healthy. So again, a case where you need to review what your customer return rate is and what your AOV is. And if you can't find an exact LTV, you can make some assumptions just by using Shopify. But knowing those numbers is, I would say, imperative to being able to perform a structure like this and know that your cost per purchase can increase by quite a bit and still have a very profitable business.
Typically, this is how everyone measures clients wise. CPA, ROAS, like what am I getting, cost per conversion, blah, 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 and what is the return on ad spend. These are the metrics that we should be counting. This is something that all of these